picture right now in the NFC, because now we can chisel this into stone. This is the way it's going to be. The Green Bay Packers, the #1 seed overall in the NFC, and they get the first round bye. And then you see the matchups. You've got Tampa Bay, now the #2 seed. Remember, with a win, that would have been the Rams as the #2 seed, and they would have been hosting the New Orleans Saints next week at SoFi Stadium. But by virtue of this loss today, they fall all the way down there to now where you see where they're standing. You got the Rams there. They're going to host the Arizona Cardinals next week at SoFi Stadium. And in the other game, it's the Dallas Cowboys at home against the 49ers. And as I mentioned, guys, the problem here is that if all of the top seeds win, if Tampa Bay is a winner and Dallas is a winner and the Rams are a winner, then week 2, you go to Green Bay. And we've had a lot of discussion about that Green Bay team. I think a lot of us in this room think that's probably the best team in football.
Well, Kyle, you know, everybody can do all the second guessing they want, but this is going to be the playoffs coming up. And today's game, actually, the 49er game was very similar to a playoff structured game. I just think that, you know, the coach made the right calls in most cases. He was a little perturbed because they couldn't run the ball efficiently. They only had 64 yards rushing. That was a downfall. And the defense took over in this game. And this is all about defense. So you look at all those games in the postseason. What teams strike you the most? And I mean, you got to look at Battle of the Bays. I mean, those two teams, to me, just strike me in the face. The Rams are a good team, but when you can't handle a running team and you can't stop the run, you're destined for failure.
And we've seen that a couple of times this season. We saw that with the Tennessee Titans. And now you're looking at the fact that they could have, with a win today, secured home field against any other team except Green Bay. So if you face Green Bay, that would be in the NFC Championship game. But now you've got one home game, and you're going up against a team that's already beaten you at home this season. Jackie?
Well, you know, this is what I know, Kyle. I don't have to guess. I know this. If you get into the playoffs, it's a whole different season. All of the great teams that you've been watching all year, if you get in the playoffs and you figure out what it takes to beat them, and you get on a road doing that 1 week at a time, it doesn't really matter. I think Sean McVay and his outfit are capable of beating any of these teams, all of these teams, if they do things right. You know, going into this game, Aaron Donald, who is arguably the best pass rusher we've ever seen, Aaron Donald said the thing that we have to do today is that we have to shut down the run. There's no question about it. They ran the football 44 times against them the last time. He said we've got to shut down the run, make them one-dimensional, and we can win the ball game. They knew what they needed to do, and were unable to do it. So I think that as the Rams or any team move into the playoffs, figuring out exactly what it is that has to be done to beat your opponent and then going out and executing it gives you an opportunity to beat everybody, because you're not really going to get out-coached. I haven't seen anybody get out-coached. And you're not going to get probably not going to get out-schemed too many times. Now, you can get beat up physically because a bigger guy brings a little bit more effort, but usually that kind of neutralizes itself. So I think it's going to be all about preparation, all about scheme, you know, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. You've got to have variety when you attack these run defenders, because, you know, these guys are tough, man, and they know how to play blocks. And they're playing them less and less and less because people are throwing the football more. So as we get into the playoffs, as they dial in on these things and straighten them out, I think it gives the Rams or anybody else for that chance a really good opportunity to be successful in the postseason.
I think the thing that surprised me today is what took the 49ers so long to shift into this game plan, because, Ron, we've talked about this several times, that the book is out on the Rams, and we've seen teams run it down their throat this season and do it successfully, and we saw that from the Arizona Cardinals when they came here to SoFi Stadium. We saw it today out of the 49ers. Why it took them until halftime to do that, I don't know. But this game changed dramatically once they got into the third quarter. Are you concerned with this Cardinals team coming back to SoFi that they know the blueprint to beat the Rams?
I'm actually not. I think sometimes you just don't match up well against people. And the 49ers are one of those teams. They're very physical up front. Their front four, like I said earlier, the key is if you can get pressure with 4 defensive linemen, you can win games. And you don't have to bring an extra guy in blitz. You can drop 7. You can do all of that. That's the key, and that's what they're able to do. You look at the championships teams that have won Super Bowls year after year after year. Their front fours are dominant, and that's the key. And I think we should look at this loss like, okay, maybe the Rams learned something else, something new that they can apply toward the playoffs. Sometime a loss can help you going forward. I know it doesn't feel like that now, but sometimes you can take something out of it and carry it forward, and it can be a positive. But for one thing that has been consistent, which all of us agree on, the turnovers, especially at the wrong time, have to stop. And that's a killer for the Rams.
Okay, I'm not so sure there's any such thing as a good loss, but we'll leave it at that. We got a big Sunday night football game going on right now between the Raiders and the Chargers. We're going to talk about that coming up next, and we'll take a look at the AFC playoff picture. But first, we've got our player profile.
Player Profile brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers or visit SoCalBMW.com.
Well, Trojans fans had a chance to see their former safety, Talanoa Hufanga, return to Los Angeles today. He grew up on a farm in Corvallis, Oregon, where he was the Polynesian High School National Player of the Year. Came to USC to follow in the footsteps of his idol, Troy Polamalu, and was Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year in 2020 and the Polynesian College Football Player of the Year. San Francisco made him a 5th-round pick in last year's draft. We've got more Sports Wrap coming up right after this.